Welcome to today's edition of Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Vajoya Chapelier. You know, one thing we can never know enough about is the economy, and more specifically, our personal finances. What are the secrets to prosperity? Well, certified financial planner and author Dr. Donald Reed has traveled internationally to tell the world, and now he's here with us today to share some much-needed financial information and advice. Welcome, Dr. Reed.
Thank you very much for having me on TBN, Trinity Broadcasting Network.
It is a pleasure. So let's jump right in. We're going to talk about, financial freedom and talking about learning more about finances and getting more advice. Specifically, let's first talk about what the problem is. You know, how the changing economy in not just the nation, but in New York City has impacted people.
The change in economy comes down to two words, old and new. The old technology, or the old way of doing things, and the new technology, the new way of doing things. And so what we have discovered is that the traditional jobs in the old job market with the old technology basically is on its way out, replaced by the new technology that has come aboard. And in addition to which, many of the jobs that we had here in the United States have gone overseas. That has just made the issue that much more complicated. Therefore, what has to happen to reverse this situation is that those individuals who have been misplaced or displaced by their former employment need to have their skills upgraded for the new marketplace and the new jobs that are in the new economy.
So how does one, let's say, without the resources to, let's say, go back to a four-year university, or maybe someone who's a little bit older who feels like they've been aged out of the job market because of the new technological advances you've been talking about, what are they to do?
Well, that's a great question. There are alternatives, meaning to say, traditionally, someone has gone to the quote-unquote classroom. Now you can do much of your training and acquire the skills you need online. This way, you do not disrupt your career path or the convenience of doing this, but also reduce the cost. There is a way. Where there's a will, there's always a way.
There is, isn't there?
Most certainly.
Okay, so New York's economy, it definitely has changed. What kind of trends have you seen?
The trends I've seen is this. For starters, with the 2008 economic crisis, the word was out that New York would have been devastated because the economy is financial services driven. Now, we have weathered that storm because there is a new segment of the market that has been created, which is the high technology startup community. They have generated economic activity and new jobs, which is a gain. So that there have been losses, but there have also been gains. And in the scheme of things, to some extent, the gains have neutralized the losses that we've suffered. And in addition to that, let's remember, we experienced 9/11, 2001. There was also great doubt about what the recovery would look like, if any recovery at all. We did recover. Why? New York City is a very resilient town. And so this time around, we have the experience of having recovered from prior crises to be able to draw upon.
Okay, so let's talk about personal finances, because when the economy suffers on a larger scale, of course, the economy changes for individuals. What are some things that people can do to try to keep up with what's happening in New York's economy?
That is a great question. And there is a very simple answer to that. Whether the economy is good, bad, or indifferent, any prudent person needs to do some very basic steps. Financial planning 101. Earn more than you spend. Spend less than you earn.
It is simple, isn't it?
And save the difference.
Right.
For retirement, for a rainy day, for emergencies, and so forth and so on. And I can do some...
yes, please give us an example.
An example. Well, for example, basic again. Whenever our outflows exceed our inflows, our upkeep will be our downfall.
Yes, the numbers do have to add up, don't they?
The
You can't
numbers
give
must
what
add.
you don't have. Okay, so well, let's talk about someone who might be, well, for lack of a better term, underwater, you know, with the housing market being what it is. You know, a lot of people have struggled with that too. For people who are already so deep in debt, whether it's because of student loans, whether it's because of credit card debt, what are some things that they can do? Because maybe they aren't making more than their bills are at the moment. So where do they start to dig themselves out of that financial hole?
That is a great question, and I would respectfully respond. If someone is in that situation, it's recommended that they immediately seek professional assistance. Because if they have tried on their own to achieve the financial balance, stability that they wanted, and in spite of that, they have experienced adverse situations in their finances, clearly it means that they need assistance, because to continue to do the same things that we've done and expect to get different results is highly inappropriate.
I think the definition of that is insanity.
Thank you very much.
It is, isn't it?
It is. But there's one other thing I needed to add to that,
Please.
which is very important, which is a thread that goes through this entire conversation. Certified financial planners. There is, statistics tell us, 70,000 certified financial planners in the United States. With a population of about 300 million Americans, it means that there's only one certified financial planner per 4,000 citizens. Compare those statistics with the medical profession. There are approximately 800,000 to 1 million medical doctors in the country, which means that there is about one medical practitioner for every 400 to 500 citizens. That said, it means that it's 10 times more difficult to obtain the services of a certified financial planner than it is a medical practitioner. And so the big need is not only for the citizens to do what's appropriate, but also for the country as a whole to be able to produce en masse certified financial planners to get the job done.
Okay, so we definitely know now that regardless of how much money you do or don't have, you need to seek the advice of a professional. So how do you know if you're talking to the right certified financial planner, someone who can find a good solution for you?
Okay, let me just back up a second. There are many people who call themselves, quote unquote, financial advisors. That's not what I'm speaking about. I'm speaking about a certified financial planner, which is someone who has passed a rigorous academic examination over a period of 2 days and integrity requirements before they become certified financial planner. That is to ensure that the public gets the best and not second best professional services. That is critical and very important. Now, having said that, one can go to the website of the Certified Financial Planners, Board of Certified Financial Planners, and there are the list of all the financial planners by region, and therein you can find someone that's close to your location.
Okay, so do a little few minutes work online and you can find someone who could possibly help change your life.
That is the answer.
Okay, well, let's talk to people who might be in severe financial trouble, or maybe they are not sure what kind of shape they're in, and I'm not sure which is worse. How can someone go about finding out about their credit score, their credit report, and if they do find that there are problems, what can they do to start repairing this?
There are some nonprofit credit counseling agencies that are listed in the yellow pages, and anyone can access those counseling services. And I want to say, and I want to emphasize, get help. It's not a sin to be in financial difficulties. Things happen. Loss of job, illnesses, loss of pension, loss of business, whatever, by whatever name it goes. Things happen. So it's not a sin. It's just a human experience. But what is a sin, were there to be a sin, was to be in this situation and not seek professional help.
Right. So where does one start when you want to find out more about your credit rating, your credit report?
go to the Yellow Pages, look for professional credit counselors that are certified by the government, and that's where you start. I emphasize that over and over again because to do what we have done in the past, we are not going to get different results. And we have, worldwide, there is some great fear of seeking help with your finances. There's nothing to be afraid about. It's just natural in this worldwide economy.
So it's time to reach out and start doing something new. Well, what about the person who knows that their credit is in trouble? Is there anything that they can do to start repairing their credit?
Yes, they need to start from their financial plan, which is to say that they have to monitor their expenses and monitor their income on an ongoing basis. It calls for a new way of managing their money in this new economy. We have to admit that the old way of doing business has changed, and there has to be a new approach, a professional approach, in order that we can be financially secure and move forward and not backward.
You know, in our culture, there is a lot of pressure to keep up with the Joneses, and not even in New York, but even around the world. But being that most everything that you could ever possibly want is found here in New York City.
I love that question. It's such a great question because, you know, I have discussion with, in seminars that I conduct for organizations, that question always comes up, and on an individual basis, as we're doing right here. And I said, look, you know, all the professionalism and the fancy words and the fancy everything aside, we human beings, some of us, get into difficulties because we try to impress people who do not know us, number one, or may know us and do not like us, number two, and who may not care either way. But we want to impress them, impress ourselves.
Isn't that funny about us? And then we want what we can't have just by virtue of we can't have it. So we'll learn a little bit more. I tell you what, if you stay tuned, we're going to learn a lot more with Dr. Reed when we come back, because there's a very important time coming up for us, folks. It's tax time. So stay tuned, and we're going to learn some tips on how to do your best this year with that. Stay tuned.